This is the Archos 101 XS, Archos' most recent flagship tablet. Forever they have been trying to balance good value with high specifications. Archos has a bit of a ropey track record for tablets, but have they managed to pull off something special here? Well, let's have a look. Well, straight away you'll notice that the Archos 101 XS comes with a full QWERTY keyboard. We'll get into that a little later on. It's one of the big features of this device, obviously. The tablet itself is quite sturdy. It's got a mono stereo on the right hand side behind this faux speaker design. There's a 720p webcam with a little microphone on the left hand side of the screen. Pretty handy for video conferencing, obviously. And beside that, on the left hand side of the device, there is the mini HDMI connector, the 3.5mm headphone jack, micro USB, plus a micro SD card slot. On the right side of the device you have the power button and the volume rocker. The power button is actually quite difficult to push. It's a bit annoying, and also the rocker is quite difficult to find to distinguish from the side of the device. At the bottom is a proprietary connector that is specifically designed for this QWERTY keyboard. As you can see, there are 6 rows of keys here. They've had the opportunity to be able to pack in as much as possible. Looking at the actual keyboard itself, it is pretty confusing given all the alternate keys and symbols and things. And along here is where you connect the actual device. There's little magnets and things that hold it in position quite securely. Around the edge of the keyboard is this rubber bumper that's magnetic. It goes right the way around, and it actually clamps on to the front of the screen. It doesn't work with the back of the device, so God knows where you're going to put the keyboard when you're just using it as a tablet. But it's a novel design. The keyboard also has its own battery and requires charging here. It does not charge the tablet from the battery. The underside of the keyboard has this rather nice but scratch-worthy faux metal plastic design. It's not terribly old, this device, but it's got some pretty major scratches on it. And this is the hinge that allows you to support the tablet whenever it's docked, much like this. All it does is flip up on this little hinge mechanism, and then there's a flap that sticks out to brace it. All magnetic, and it all clicks together quite nicely. It's a novel way to do things. Some people will prefer the likes of the Asus Transformers clicky method, where it actually clicks in, but this, I suppose, is a better budget option. The profile of the device is still quite thin when you snap the two together. Obviously, as the keyboard is quite dumb, it doesn't demand too much of a footprint. To prise the two devices apart, you just basically pull them apart. There's nothing more simple than that. It doesn't have a catch or a latch. It does mean that things can slide apart in your bag, but it's fairly secure for the most part. Looking at the actual device itself now, having the keyboard is obviously going to be brilliant for word processing. There's all those other symbols on the keyboard to make things quite confusing. You can get up to quite a good speed, although it takes a wee while to get used to the keyboard, because a lot of the regular functions that you would normally see on a regular keyboard have Android functions built into them, so you can end up pressing the wrong button time and time again until you feel that you are used to it. For example, there's the Task Manager. You just click the button and the Task Manager appears. Kind of neat. It means you don't have to go through the anguish of actually pressing the screen, but that's fairly simple to do also. We just type in here, and it can search and save and things on the fly. It's very, very simple to use, obviously being a keyboard. The device itself is quite snappy. Inside it's got a multi-core OMAP 4470 processor running at 1.5 GHz. That's an ARM Cortex A9. It also has a PowerVR SGX 544 GPU, which, as we all know, is great. Absolutely great. It's quite nippy. It suffers from a little bit of lag here and there, as you will see as this video progresses. Here's a YouTube video just running natively in the YouTube client. I'll try and turn the volume up here, but I hit the power button instead. The volume is somewhere around here, and there we go. We'll put that up and you can have a listen to that speaker on the right hand side. Not the greatest sound quality out of a speaker, but you're going to be plugging in a pair of headphones, I'd imagine, at any rate. The screen angles are pretty good, I have to say. You can see this from most angles around the way. Some of the previous screens that Archos have put out have been very washed out whenever you tilt them ever so slightly upwards or downwards or left or right. But this one works from most angles, and it's a noticeable step up from their previous attempts. So you get a bunch of bundled software with the device. There's a few game demos and things which aren't particularly useful. I've installed some extra content here as well, like PGA Golf and Dead Space. You know, bigger games, maybe Modern Combat and things, just to have a play around with. You also have the mapping tool. This is a patented software mapping tool that Archos are putting out with a lot of their devices now that allow you to map screen controls to physical buttons on controllers. It's kind of nice to have, and it'll make playing games an awful lot easier. Also, given that you can slide the tablet into this keyboard, means you can keep it at a rather sort of optimum viewing angle whilst playing on a controller. Kind of handy, nicely thought out. I'm going to try and load up Modern Combat here and see how it goes. There's a gig of RAM in here, so things should be fairly smooth. Also with that Power VR GPU, you'd like to think things are fairly smooth. The dual core as well runs at a fairly decent pace, and things seem to be screaming along here quite nicely. Very flashy, extremist and warlike. That's what we like to see in our war games. There's some jets there that you don't fly in the game. And we'll just skip that and actually try and get into the game to see how things run. There's mission 1. The load times are considerable. I haven't actually played this game on any other tablets yet, so I don't know whether that's just standard across the board. It does seem to be quite a big, ambitious game here, so it's not like booting up Cut the Rope or something, or Fruit Ninja. Cut the Fruit or Rope Ninja. Rope Ninja, that sounds like a good game. Yes, we'll patent Rope Ninja. I'll get the domain today. Right, let's get into this and see how it runs. This is a pre-rendered sequence, so we'll just skip past that. Now, I haven't played one of these in quite some time, so I'm going to be quite duff at it here. We'll just shooty at these people. Things seem to be running quite nicely. There's a lot of things going on the screen at this time, and it's not entirely laggy. It's doing quite nicely. Choppa, 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 choppa. And we're going over to section 2 here, where we have more people to shoot at. There's more animation on the screens and things, people running around, and it's not entirely fluid. There is the odd bit of lag here and there, but then I suppose this is a fairly large game, but the specs on this are high enough to be able to handle it. So perhaps that was just one little blip on an otherwise fairly impressive palette. So that works. We'll just kill off some of these tasks here because it'll be fairly handy. I've installed a bunch of stuff here. You get your notifications down the bottom right hand side here. As is standard with Android Ice Cream Sandwich, it has been updated to Jelly Bean as well, which is kind of handy, but then Archos does have a bit of overlay to put into it as well. There's not much, it's relatively naked. The additions are the likes of this, the Archos Media Player, which you can download for any device. It's quite nice. You fan through all your videos here and play them, which is always handy for a media player. This is a video that loads slowly, and the green band, it's not actually playing right now, it's thinking about it. You can see the loading circle in the center there. There we go. It's starting to play now. Finally. This plays up to 1080p, I believe. And it's up.
Are you in need of any assistance today, sir? No. I could help you cross the street. No.
So you can fart about in the media player quite happily. It allows you to connect to a few different media streaming options. As you can see, I've got a couple of streams going in my casa at the moment, and this button takes you straight back to where you were, so it kind of remembers the last thing you were watching and allows you to jump right back into it at any stage of using the media player. Kind of nice. It also downloads covers and cast information and things quite quickly. Obviously having things running in the background makes the machine a wee bit more laggy. Perhaps that's why we had lag on Modern Combat there, because there were a good few things open. With a giant display like this, reading a magazine is obviously going to be something that's quite appealing to people. Google Play does have magazine subscriptions in there, so this is a cheap magazine that's kind of crucial information for anyone who's a wee bit geeky. It runs quite nicely. It's just a PDF being displayed, and you can zoom in and out and have a look at these astronomical prices and fire everywhere. So that works. It's not a bad little idea. The browser is obviously going to be a crucial thing for most people. There's a lot of speculation that browsers tend to be a bit rubbishy on various devices, so we're going to test both this one and Chrome. We're just going to go to two of the same websites to see how well these run. Here is Tracy and Matt. Please excuse the cable in the background there. It was misbehaving. And it seems to run quite well. Obviously there's a bit of a gap there for YouTube videos and things because it's having trouble displaying Flash, but it runs quite speedily. There's a little bit of lag there. There's almost a second in between me scrolling my finger up and down. It's not a particularly complex website as old Tracy and Matt, but The Verge is. So we're going to open up The Verge here and see how it does on the stock browser, if it loads at all. We may come back to it. It's getting late. It's almost dinner time. There we go. We can't do anything with it just yet, but it seems to have buffered quite a bit. But it's mildly irritating. I didn't select a link there, but it seems to have reckoned that I did. Never mind. We'll just go to Chrome and have a look and see how Chrome does, because Chrome is the better of the two browsers, most believe. Yep, there was a bit of slowdown there as Chrome was loading, and I typed The Verge, but I appear to have typed it too soon. So we'll type it again, and it still took a wee while for the key response to occur. Right, it's loading slowly. There we go. Yes, it does seem to be buffering quite slowly, but this is a very complex web page. Lots and lots of images, lots of animation, lots of videos and a bit of Flash content here and there, HTML5 going. It's not the fastest, but it's not going to kill you. You're not going to be throwing the thing against the wall, freaking out that it's taking forever. So we'll try Tracy and Matt, which is a more kind of standard website that people would be visiting on a daily basis, although people do visit The Verge, but they've got their own app for that. Tracy and Matt runs quite quickly. There it is. We got the YouTube video being displayed. I'll open up this review. It's a very long review. There's a lot of pictures and things in it, and it's there. It's still loading, but it's there. And scrolling down this quickly on a long web page like this, a long article, is probably unlikely if you're going to read it, because no one can read at the speed that I just scrolled there. We'll open up this picture of coffee. And there it is. It's a fairly large picture. We can zoom in and out. Drag it about. Yeah, it works. It happens. It goes, you know. So, I was looking at the Archos media player earlier on, and I forgot to have a look at the actual song aspect of it, because everyone's going to want to use a 10.1-inch tablet as an iPod and listen to music on the go, so you can just select it and play it. It lays it all out quite well. It downloads all the information you need to know about the music, and it plays. So one thing of confusion is the microSD card slot. There are differing reports about the size of the cards that are supported. Archos say that 64 gigabytes is accepted on one sheet, and then 128 gigabytes on another. I would imagine it probably doesn't really matter anymore given the cloud services that are available. Things feel like they could run a little smoother. Perhaps it's just Android, and it seems every device has its fair share of lag. But when it comes to media presentation, the Archos is almost every codec under the sun built into it, and it will play pretty much anything you throw at it. There's still a premium codec pack that you can purchase for some of the more pricey codecs, but it's a small one-off payment that will see you decoding everything without issue. Archos can't be faulted for trying something a little bit different. It seems to be on the money because there are more and more of these keyboards becoming available and increasingly more popular as well. It's a cheap and effective way to do things. Whilst it's not as flexible as something like the Asus Transformer, this is a viable alternative. It costs a decent amount less and packs, well, similar amount of power with a fairly robust build. This is the best we've seen from Archos yet, and for a few years since they stopped making their dedicated portable media players. Whilst it's not without its faults, it is a viable option for anyone thinking of going for a full-on Android laptop replacement. It's not going to break the bank. It's good looking, it's fairly well made, and it does everything that you'd expect an Android tablet to do. Thanks for watching.